All right, we are back. Petrie, season 3 of us doing the postgame show. And what a way to kick it off as Miami beats the Florida Gators in Gainesville 41-17. What a game. You know, the point spread was it minus 2.5 for the Hurricanes? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So it seems like everyone was expecting this to be a hard-fought, somewhat even game. I think I was expecting that myself. And yet it turned out to be a classic, taking the Gators out to the woodshed. Man, we just spanked them. That felt good. How are you feeling?
Dude, I'm feeling very, very good about that. We were kind of talking about it a little bit shortly before the show. Canes were minus 2.5 as far as the betting lines were concerned. However, some of those ESPN analytics did show that the Gators were actually favored. They were supposed to win the game. There was a 60% chance roughly that they were supposed to win the game. So, make no mistake, even though we were minus 2.5, you might consider that a favorite. Some of the analytic models also showed that Florida was actually favored as far as the percentage chance to win. So to not only get the win, but to really put belt to ass and, win by 24 points, you can't really ask for much more than that. 3 touchdowns, and they still would have needed another field goal just to tie. Can't really say much more than that.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that jumps off, and we'll get into individual performances now, but Cam Ward, rightfully so, is the talk of the town right now. He's trending on Twitter. And what a performance. Let me pull up the box score real quick, but I think he went for like 385 yards and, 26 of 35, 3 touchdowns. He did have the boneheaded interception. Didn't really love that. Rolling to his left, threw across his body, ill-advised. But other than that, what a performance. To me, he looked like an elite college football player today. Pretty much looked like a guy that probably should be in the NFL right now playing against college kids.
Yeah, and I agree. There were a lot of Canes fans that were a little bit salty that Cam Ward's Heisman odds were not higher to start. But the thing is that a lot of people weren't considering is he wasn't going to have too many opportunities to have those genuine Heisman moments where you get a chance to plant your mark on the season. Well, putting belt to ass on your in-state rival, winning by 3+ touchdowns, that's one of his opportunities. So, the strength of schedule for Miami doesn't really allow for him to have a lot of those big Heisman moments where you score a big touchdown against one of the, top-ranked teams, so to speak. But this is a good way to take a step in the right direction for him to put some marks on a Heisman campaign early on in the season. Hopefully he can get some opportunities later on as well.
Yeah, and you kept mentioning a few words to me earlier when we were talking before we jumped on the show, but you kept saying smoothness in reference to Cam Ward, and I think you hit the nail on the head. There was a few times earlier in the game where I almost felt like he was trying to make it look easy, almost trying to send a message to the national broadcast, trying to send a message to the Florida Gators, almost maybe taunting a little bit, easing up on runs, kind of, letting everyone know how
cutesy little runs out of bounds. Yeah.
Letting everyone know that this was easy to him. I personally didn't love that. However, to his credit, he did make it look easy just with how good he is. I thought the interception might have been a fruit of trying to make it look too easy. He was not playing super focused. If he would have just put his head down and run, probably would have got a first down. I believe it was 2nd and 9 on that play. But instead, he throws the interception. Anyways, I digress. He made it look easy, and he's really good. And I'm not used to having elite quarterback play from the Miami Hurricanes, but man, I'm excited. Kind of drinking some Kool-Aid. I'll probably be telling some lies by the end of the show. But I think we're in for a fun season, man.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. It's definitely feeling like, almost kind of like De'Aaron King 2.0. We had a lot of high expectations with De'Aaron King. Unfortunately, he did have an injury situation, so we didn't get to experience all of that. But Cam Ward almost feels like what we thought De'Aaron King could have been, and then possibly even a little bit more. I think a lot of Canes fans said about De'Aaron King, okay, hey, this guy could be a Heisman candidate, but you didn't really think that the odds were very, very likely. Cam Ward, it seems like he's really trying to put himself in that conversation, and he could really be there in December if things keep going this way. You mentioned how I brought up the smoothness. I don't always like to invoke player comparisons, especially from different sports, because people tend to run wild and be like, well, it's not exactly the same because of XYZ specific reason. And it's not necessarily that I'm saying it's the same thing in terms of statistically or an overall performance, but just stylistically. When I say a smoothness, I wrote this down earlier. Cam Ward has a smoothness that gives the illusion of divination. It almost seems like he sees things before they happen. It reminds me of Dwayne Wade. He's not going to be the most explosive guy. He's not going to blast off the field. He's not going to do something insane and crazy athletic. But he has a way about him where he knows how to be in the right place at the right time or put the ball in the right place at the right time. That almost makes it seem like, did you know that that was about to happen? Come on, man. It almost, like I said, it borders on the illusion of divination. It is very, very cool to watch him play.
It is. And I think, I've watched hours and hours of highlight clips from him at Washington State last year. But I think maybe the way to articulate it is just the elite level of awareness that he has of the players around him and the situation around him. The football awareness when he's on the field. I haven't seen that on the Miami Hurricanes, perhaps ever in my time, which we'd be going back to about 2005, 2006. Not sure I've seen a player that has that level of football awareness. Because like you said, whether it's, escaping a collapsing pocket and evading some defenders, and then that pass to, was it Jacoby George that he hit in the back of the end zone?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I think that was, what an incredible play. I mean, that's like SportsCenter top 10 material, rightfully so. Absolutely insane. And he makes it look easy. He's an incredible football player. I kind of tricked myself into believing that he was going to disappoint a little bit. I think that was maybe me protecting myself because of all the disappointing years in a row that we've had. The De'Aaron King situation, and some other transfers that we've had, Jaron Williams.
You could go down the line.
Yeah, I could go on for quite a while. But man, he's the real deal. He is elite. He's like All-American. He's an NFL player, and he's going to be really good for us this year.
No, and to build on the fact that you just said he's an NFL player, which I do agree with, I genuinely believe that he got grades, when he went through that little fiasco during the offseason where he was thinking, is he going to go pro? Is he going to transfer, somewhere else? I genuinely believe that he got draft grades that were saying that he was going to be maybe like a third or fourth round pick. And he genuinely thought to himself, fuck that. I am a first round pick. Yeah. At the worst, I'm an early second round pick. And I think that he's trying to prove that point. He might have gotten those bad grades, but like, hey, I'm about to go out here. I'm about to make it look easy. I'm going to make it look like I'm playing with a bunch of kids because I am. I'm ready to play in the NFL.
Well, I'm in a high stakes dynasty fantasy football league, and I can tell you that my first round pick has his name on it. So I definitely believe in what I saw today. So let's kind of break down some numbers a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the offense, there's a few statistics that stuck out to me. And then I do want to talk about Shannon Dawson and the offense in general at some point as well. So the first thing that jumped out to me was 7 receptions for the tight end room today. We had 4 for Elijah Arroyo, or is that his name? I'm drawing a blank here.
Lofton?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Elijah Lofton and Elijah Arroyo. That's why. So 4 for Arroyo, 2 for Lofton, 1 for Cam McCormick that went for the touchdown. 7 receptions for the tight end room. We had less than 20 the entirety of last season. That's a pretty big jump.
And I'm with you on that. It's a big jump, especially for a program that historically does refer to itself as like tight end university, TEU, to be able to make that kind of a jump. 20 total catches for the total amount of games last year is not even 2 per game, basically, which is insane. And then here we go, we triple that in the first game, and also not even like one guy just went off. Spread the wealth a little bit. So the 2 guys that got multiple catches went for big yardage, and then the one guy who got 1 catch went for a touchdown. So talk about spreading the wealth a little bit. It is tight end university.
Yeah. And we looked really good this year. One of the not so positive points that jumped out to me was the run blocking. I mentioned this on Twitter, and I don't think people really liked that I noticed this, but I wasn't a big fan of the way that our run blocking looked today. And maybe my expectations were too high. Maybe I underestimated Florida's defensive front. I thought that we were going to control the line of scrimmage a little better in the run game. I thought Florida did a really nice job of not allowing us to break off any big runs. Cam Ward had a little more leeway. It's tough to contain the quarterback, but when we did traditional run plays, we had 1 run of 17 yards from Damian Martinez. Other than that, they kept us to a pretty humble average. Martinez himself, outside of his 17-yard run, he was 14 carries, 48 yards. That's under 3.5 yards per carry. So hoping for some improvement as the season goes on there. However, the counterpoint, I thought the pass protection was off the charts. I even saw Orlando Franklin point that out on Twitter. So,
yeah. So real quickly, because this part is real easy. The pass protection was very, very good. You saw how Cam Ward was able to be a little bit shifty in the pocket without having to do anything too crazy, like coming completely outside of his frame in order to throw. Of course, he does tend to naturally lean a little bit and throw it off balance and a little bit sidearmed. But that's just a stylistic approach, which, if that's just how he feels comfortable, then that's how he feels comfortable. But as far as the blocking goes, the pass protection was incredibly good today. Now, as far as the run blocking, it's really tough because on one hand, you want to say, well, hey, the pass protection was so good. Why are you guys faltering so bad with the run blocking? But at the same time, we also need to consider that the Gators, as much as anybody wants to talk shit and say, ah, ha, ha, we won, you guys are not as good as us, they want to troll, do the whole 9 yards. Florida is still an SEC team, and they recruit like an SEC team. They pay NIL like an SEC team. So when you see the guys that they have on their defensive line, they're not bums. They're not scrubs. They're good football players. And so I'm going to be a little bit patient. It is still the first game. We have a 2-headed monster as far as Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher go. But at the same time, they're going to need to figure out this balance moving forward. Fletcher had 2 touchdowns. I mean, that was very, very good, but those were both kind of like ground and pound right there kind of runs,
Yep. So we're going to bring in Mike Kirkland. Mike, what's up? You still on mute?
I'm off mute now, bro. Can y'all hear me?
What's up? Yeah, how you doing?
Hey man, go Canes, bro.
Go Canes,
Go
brother.
Canes, bro.
Yeah.
We go to Gainesville and down.
Oh man. That South Carolina internet connection ain't doing you any favors.
Oh, okay.
We'll push forward.
Yeah, we'll try to get Mike involved when he gets. Mike, you're breaking up a little bit.
My bad. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, better.
I just want to say go Canes, man. I want to see y'all faces, man. This is a good day for Canes football.
Hey, it's a great day for Canes football, man.
Yes,
that was
it is.
belt to ass for real. 24 points is a big deal, man.
Yeah. And them getting
Great
a
day.
garbage time touchdown too. So
I don't care.
Also, we ruined. They had a couple of streaks. They had a couple of like big time streaks going on. 34 straight home openers that they had won. and something else where they had a home win streak against ranked teams. So we broke their home win streak against ranked teams and their overall home opener streak in one game. Check, check. 2 birds, 1 stone. How you like it?
Love it.
So I had a note. This kind of stuck out to me because of how Mario has emphasized building the trenches, and then getting elite skill players in there. If you didn't know anything about, well, let's just say you didn't know what conference these two teams were in, this looked like an SEC versus ACC game, in the sense of it was a mismatch of physicality, of strength, of size, of depth. If you didn't know better, you would have guessed that Miami was the SEC team and Florida was the ACC team. And, maybe I've been critical of Mario Cristobal sometimes, but I want to give him credit that his vision for how he's going to build this team, it was visible on the television screen today. So credit to him there. And, man, it just really makes me feel good about where we're headed this season.
But he says that himself. He says when he says to present to recruits and their families, we're doing this to build it for success and build it the right way. He did the same thing at Oregon. He built it and it looked like an SEC team playing out there in the Pac-12. That's what it looked like when Mario was out there at Oregon. Now they're still like that. They've got lingering effects from his recruiting waterfall being established over a number of years. But Miami is going to be looking just like that in a number of years as well. We're seeing it here in year 3. Let's imagine what it looks like year 4, 5, 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, Shannon Dawson, we touched on the offense a little bit earlier with the tight end room and how they had 7 receptions today, less than 20 all of last season. I do not proclaim myself to be a big X's and O's guy. The offense just looked different today. It looked more intricate. It looked more creative. I thought that we were getting everyone involved instead of it pretty much just being Restrepo and the running back room, that's pretty much all it was last year. Maybe that is to Cam Ward's credit. Maybe that is to Shannon Dawson's credit. Just the overall vibe on offense was very different today than anything I saw last season. Maybe beside the Texas A&M game last year. But this just felt like a much more competent, well-oiled offense.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. It really felt like, as you were saying, if you wanted to compare it side by side, it felt like Miami was the quote-unquote SEC team or the bigger, more physical team, whereas Florida seemed like the ones that were, for whatever reason, we don't know how to explain it, slower and not as strong off the ball. Yeah. So it really did seem like that, and it's kind of unbelievable. I know Florida is not expected to have a tremendous season, but that doesn't mean they're a bad team. They do have a real drag of a schedule, to be honest with you.
Yeah. They have the type of schedule where a good team could go under 500, and I think that might be the case for them this year, but that doesn't mean they're a bad team. I think in a lesser conference they would have a good season this year. So we might be looking at them at the end of the year that they went 4-8 or something. I don't think that should discount the performance today, because we were not playing scrubs. This was just dominating an in-state rival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. And, we've been kind of harping a little bit on the offense, but, as far as the defense, and I don't have a lot of stats on this, but it kind of, rolls into my point about why I don't have stats on this. I almost wanted to, say this was like the no-name defense. It reminded me of those undefeated Miami Dolphins back in the 70s, the no-name defense. Yeah. Did anybody have a performance today that specifically jumped off the page? I know Kiko had a couple of big ones. That was very nice. Yep. We had a couple of sacks, a couple of interceptions. That's all very nice. But did any one player do something that was incredibly remarkable? No. It was done by committee, and so that's why you have the no-name defense, a bunch of guys all working together on a cohesive unit, and that defense looked good today. Good today. Because the same thing that we just said about Florida's defense, you could say about their offense. Talk whatever shit you want and say, they're going to do poorly with their schedule and so on and so forth. But they recruit like an SEC team, and so they have a good quarterback, they have good running backs, they have good wide receivers. They're not bums on offense. So the fact that our defense was effective today, let's not make that nothing, you know?
I did not keep tabs on the summer overly close like I used to. So when I was going over the depth chart, there was a lot of new names to me. I noticed about 30% of this defense, if you're going all the way down the depth chart, are new players. And, there's a lot of guys that I was watching play for the first time or getting acquainted with them for the first time today. And like you said, we just have so much skill, so much talent. Tyler Barron was someone who I learned who he was today. He had a few great plays, but it really was a cohesive unit. And, man, the defense played awesome today. If you break down those 17 points that they scored, Cam Ward gave them 3 with that bad pick. And then we had the lapse on the run play, the 71-yard run play. And then they got the garbage time touchdown with DJ Lagway.
It could have been a lot worse.
That's pretty good going into the swamp, playing an in-state rival SEC team, and really not letting them, not giving up any sustained drives that go for a touchdown, right? Kind of had a busted play here. You gave them 3 with a turnover. But, man, what an incredible performance as a whole unit for the defense today.
Yeah, very exciting. I think that this sets up favorably because a lot of people were saying, like, if they get past Florida, are they going to be undefeated? How far could they go, into the season? I think that we are looking pretty good in our next couple games. You don't want to get caught looking ahead in the schedule. Obviously, you still have to treat the opponents very seriously, but, it feels good. I see a path to at least 9 wins.
Yeah,
at the very minimum 9. If we get 8 wins, I would consider the season a failure at this point, honestly.
Yeah,
we're already 1-0. Like, how do we not win 7 of the last, like, whatever the number is, 11?
I think I'm just going to send it and drink some Kool-Aid, and Mike's going to be mad at me for this. But this is our playoff season, man. Like, it just is. I'm sorry. What I saw today, that was a playoff team. Especially with the expanded 12-team playoff. That was a playoff team that I watched today.
Yeah.
So,
man, we just gotta win the games where we're favored to win, bro.
Absolutely.
So,
that's all I'm
saying. Let's
just
put it this way.
Just deliver, fam.
Take the names off of the matchup. Just take the names off the matchup, right? If someone told you a ranked ACC team went into the home of an unranked SEC team, but went into the home of an unranked SEC team and beat them by 24, you would probably be feeling like, yeah, they're a good team. Like, yeah, of course they're going to be top at worst like 15, at worst top 15.
Yeah.
But you know the narrative now, Petrie's going to be that Florida ain't shit.
No, of course. No, tell me, were y'all listening to the broadcast? Because it did kind of change low-key. It changed midway through the game. At the beginning, they were like, Miami's looking to come in here and do something today, da-da-da-da-da. And then after we were whooping that ass, and then at the end they were like, Florida's really struggling against this stacked Miami team. I said, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
That's the old SEC classic line, bro. Is once something bad happens to the SEC, they start defending themselves, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
But I do want to point out, though, there were 2 other ACC versus SEC games today. Georgia absolutely destroyed Clemson, which I was surprised by. I do think Georgia's the best team in the country. I thought Clemson would pose more of a fight. And then Vanderbilt knocking off Virginia Tech.
Vandy.
So let me put it this way, because I'm drinking some Kool-Aid right now, and I'm trying to contain myself.
Keep going.
But Florida State starts 0-1. Clemson starts 0-1. Virginia Tech starts 0-1. NC State, they won their game. However, very unimpressively. I would be kind of disappointed if we're not in the ACC championship game as it stands right now. We have to be this year. This looks like a down year for the conference across the board. I mean, Florida State was not that good. Virginia Tech, I mean, I don't know. You guys get what I'm saying. This is our year, though. It has to be. If not now,
Bro.
when?
I was just actually about to say that exact thing. If not now, then when? And that's the big thing because it is year 3 of Cristobal. In the first couple of years, you can get a pass. In the first year, all right, hey, buddy, it's your first year. I understand you're trying to make some changes, yada, yada, yada. Second year, okay, well, it's your first time getting really a full recruiting class, like, so on and so forth. This isn't really your team. A third year, everybody on this team is either your guy or an upperclassman, right? Like, so if everybody who is not a Cristobal guy at this point is either like a third or fourth year player, such as like Restrepo, for example, right? Yeah. This is the year. Third year, step up, show us what it means to win. Come on, man.
Yeah. Mike, what were you saying?
Man, I was just going to say, man, I haven't seen a Miami quarterback that poised in the pocket, bro, since I was 10 years old, fam.
Yeah.
20, 25 years, fam. I'm just saying. I haven't seen it. Petrie, maybe you got somebody, bro? That was crazy, fam.
No, Mike, he's so nice. I was saying it actually earlier about his like smoothness, and I hate doing the like cross sport comparison, but his smoothness reminds me of Dwayne Wade. It's almost like he sees things before they happen. He's not going to like explode off of the like he's not going to explode off the field and do some kind of crazy dunk that nobody's ever seen before, but hey, he's going to do some stuff where you're like, how did you see that coming? How did you know that was about to happen? Same thing with Cam Ward. No, he's not going to nuke the ball 80 yards, but like he's going to do a little kind of like maneuver on a run or something like that. You're going to be like, dang, you kind of saw something that the defense didn't see, obviously.
Yeah, I've been watching religiously since the Kyle Wright days, and I have not seen anything remotely close to this from a quarterback wearing a U on the side of his head. And I mean, there's been some quarterbacks that I loved, some quarterbacks that were good. There hasn't been anything close to this. Not even De'Aaron King at his very best ever put up a performance like today, in my opinion.
Man, I don't know. I'm getting like goosies now for like the rest of the season, dude. It's
dude.
like I don't want to be like, overreactionary because Florida is really not expected to be like so great at the end of the year. So when it all comes down to it at the end of the season, Florida might not even be considered one of the better wins. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
I mean, today you sit there and that Florida has SEC coaches. They recruit like an SEC team. They pay the NIL and they do everything like an SEC team. Yep. They got all the facilities and the studying like an SEC team. To walk into their house just like that. Yeah. Sorry. Hey, I'm sorry about it. Sorry about it.
and I do want to add this. I'm not saying we should be going toe-to-toe with Georgia with this team. I'm more saying with the context of where our conference is at right now, the context of there's a 12-team playoff. The context that historically, if you finish the regular season with 2 losses, you're in the top 12, which tracks almost every year that I've looked at going back a decade or so. I would be surprised if we're not in the top 12 the last day of the regular season. And based on how the ACC is laid out this year, I'd be shocked if we are not right there for the ACC championship game. Like, we better lose a tiebreaker or something to not get in.
Yeah, it would have to be something nuts where like another team like has an unreal streak or something.
I'm fine if Clemson wins out and they're the favored team going into the ACC championship game. That's fine, or maybe Florida State wins out, they beat us, and they're the favored team in the ACC championship game. I'm fine with either of those scenarios. I'm just saying we cannot be the third best team in this conference this year.
Yeah,
our main competition, everyone but NC State, is 0-1.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, only Florida State played a conference game, but still,
it is what it is, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a we don't play Clemson this year, so we're not going to have the head-to-head. And so if we both finish like 8-1 in conference or something, they have an extra loss that we're not going to have. So, it's not nothing.
Yeah, for sure. And I really do hope I want to say I don't want to say I hope it works out that way. Like, the way things are trending, it seems like it could really result in that fashion. So I really wish that there was like more that I could say, but I mentioned this to you off air. I don't know if I should really say it on the broadcast. I didn't want to say that like Florida was like a tune-up game.
Yeah.
But Florida was kind of like a tune-up game, wasn't it? Like, what can you really say other than like, yeah, the offense looked good, the defense looked good, special teams looked solid, we won by 3+ touchdowns. What is there to analyze really past that point? We can talk about stats, I guess, but
I mean, hey, listen, we got a composed quarterback, man, and then that was the best victory we've had since the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, fam. And we did it in the opener with all this expectation, which we're used to expectation preseason with a new quarterback. We did the same thing in 2019.
Yep.
And it was the opposite. It was 30-something or whatever. And this time we went into the swamp, beat a rival. We play every 4, 5, 6 years.
Yep.
We deliver, man. I mean, you can't say much else about that, fam. I mean, we can go in between the numbers, but what a win.
Sheesh. I don't know, guys. I'm excited. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. We should probably wrap up before I start saying lies that I don't want to.
Ridiculous lies.
Yeah.
Ridiculous lies.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that, Jordan. I already know. I know. You're juicing up for it, man. We can't do it just yet, bro. Wait, we got to wait 4 weeks, bro, at least.
Yep. Okay, so we will be back next week. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Petrie, Mike, thanks, guys. I'm so happy to be back doing this. What a great day for all of Canes fam. We will catch you next week after Florida A&M.
Love y'all,
That'll be good. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.